Darkness was never meant to be a rescue mission, not even since the inception of time. For in the beginning, the Word was with God, creating and pushing darkness behind. Behind like a backdrop of divinity's narrative, the glorious splendor of all creation. And it is there that obscurity surrendered, collapsing into the lap of its own limitations. See, let there be light was the announcement to all voidness that it would lead the demonstration of glory. So the sun ruled the day and the moon governed at dusk, like generals frontlining new territory. And the stars too. The stars, they would proceed to concede to marching orders like an army invading new ground, so that every single shining spectacle stood at attention, commanded to make not a sound. So now, oh, how I wonder if Abraham recognized each shining speck of a great nation. I wonder if he knew they'd be saved by grace for illumination. I wonder if the constellations mapped the distance for reconciliation, or was the promise undergirded with the preview of the great vindication. I wonder if he knew that those stars would light up the world like a city on a hill. And right alongside those scars, did he see the sunset? The sun set aside his will, and the sun set not one uphill. The sunlight of the world stood still, while darkness, for once, darkness filled. Darkness filled the earth like tears swelling up in the wells of mourning widows. Darkness was on mission, demanding the Son of Man's complete submission, peeling back the curtains of decision with no reservation, center stage, enraged, engaged, demanding the attention of every gaze, an audience summoned. So we all could see, we all witnessed, we followed. Yes, even me. I was there. I was there, and there was no refuting what those dark hours had been. I can still feel the breeze of Passover lightly grazing my chin. An utterly vacant marketplace by morning should have been a sign, and the trills and chills that followed galloping slowly down my spine. But then the growing murmurings in the distance encouraged my curious notion. So I meandered my way through the ruckus to discover why all this commotion. And the moment I laid my eyes on him, my crate of goods slipped out of my grip as my knees buckled in disbelief. I thought, I don't understand. How is this happening? No, he's not a thief. How could I forget that face? I remember him. Jesus is his name. I saw him back when that woman touched his robe, and by virtue was never the same. I heard he raised the child of that ruler when death engulfed her adolescent years, how he fed 5,000 and raised men from the dead, and he wiped away their tears. So how are we here? Now it was clear that this trial was on and ongoing, and the mob would pursue it to its end. From Pilate, then to Herod, and then back to Pilate again. Tell me, how could we go from Hosanna, Hosanna, to crucify him at our consent? The taunting and the probing, the ridicule, knowing that this man is innocent. How could we demand release Barabbas when he's deserving of those chains? Barabbas? Give us Barabbas? How could Roman law legalize this exchange? Jesus, you might as well. Jesus, just save yourself, because I know you can do anything. Why bow your head down before merely men when you say that you are a king? At this point, my mind perturbed, my heart disturbed, plunging out of my treasure-chested fears. As Pilate sentenced him to crucifixion, washing his hands in the steam of my tears. And there the mob of counsel grew satisfied with their cup of scrutiny affairs. So the soldiers stripped this innocent man as he whispered subtle prayers. And it was there that the rise of darkness had surely come. As the sun set his eyelids, supplicating the courage to his lungs, in hopes that each breath that managed to escape his tongue wouldn't be his worst or his very last one, as his body was pinned on posts like handwritten notes, and his skin tight, arms stretched like love pulled to its limits. His bare back exposed like wastelanded holes as those destroyed right in it. As the guards stepped forward with a flagrant in their hands. Each scourge consisted, twisted with 9 leather bands, 9 gruesome strands to torment every cell of his being. Gnawing on every inch and every wound and every sting with bits of glass, nails and stones, spikes, pins, and even daggered bones. All were attached to this treacherous whip, a whip dripped with violence and a ship for a wretched trip to the land of Hades. The residence of abandoned sons, and there the sun was shunned, and the twilight darkness was young. With each strike to his back, it wrapped around him, then retracted, violently ripping his flesh to mesh. Shoulders scathed with an abrased chest, muscles ruptured, tearing into his veins, arteries punctured, blood vessels stains. They baptized his spine with judgment, his body shredded to sacrifice, disfigured, unrecognizable, but I could barely hear his cries. Skin raw and crushed like a slaughterhouse's dream. He was drenched from the top of his head to the belly of sacrificial streams, like a scarlet bed of carnations on mahogany caskets, ribbons of flesh roses hanging off his core like badges of dishonor, morsels of his own tissue gliding right past his feet. In the flood of his bloodshed, of his promises to keep. His curtains of flesh peeled over, his muscles pushed aside, his bones now peeking corners like the hide and seek that you never want to find, as they laid a purple robe on his back to be worn, while the very thorns he created, they now used to adorn him. At the top of his brow, the thorn-filled crown twisted down, piercing every sound and thought of exaltation, dripping of debilitation, pain, and affliction. He emptied his permission into the bosom of humiliation. His divine authority was hidden underneath his tongue. It lied dormant like a weapon, like he forgot it was there for 1 second. I thought maybe I saw some resistance, but no. He surrendered all of him with no angelic host assistance. Barely gripping his balance by the brink of his hill, he faced his head forward towards Calvary's hill. He was bruised for the transgressions that Son of Men might be healed. I could still hear his cries, but I couldn't make out his eyes. I couldn't bear it. I couldn't even stare at it anymore as I collapsed to the floor. As they snatched the robe off his coagulated skin, there was no way I could stand there to witness how this travesty would end. He was spilling his life onto dust like rubies in coffins, buried as if ashes could ever speak, but no words could capture what he declared that day, marking his love in permanent ink. I witnessed the greatest tragedy of humans' depravity, encompassed in the flesh-clothed divinity of one, to the darkest way of misery, on the darkest day of mystery, that followed and swallowed the rays of the sun.